A celestial discovery with signs of home. The San Diego experts who found 3 Earth-sized planets that may sustain life as we know it.
I think that I'd like to learn English, and I'm going to, here in the United States.
The dream of an education placed on hold. The adults who are turning migrant students away from the classrooms.
Boxing versus fighting, boxing always wins.
Staying out of trouble with valuable lessons from the ring and why boxers say you don't have to beat somebody up to be tough. This is Evening Edition on KPBS. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Astronomers searching for extraterrestrial life may need to look no further than a small nearby star. UC San Diego scientists helped find 3 Earth-sized planets orbiting an ultra-cool dwarf star just 40 light years away. They say 2 of them may lie within the habitable zone, meaning they receive just enough radiation from the star to potentially contain liquid water on their surfaces. It's the first time planets have been found around these types of stars.
It could be that many terrestrial-sized planets are actually hidden around these little stars, and we are just now starting to build the capabilities to find them and study them.
The researchers discovered the planets using a telescope in Chile that helped them look into the infrared spectrum. They published their paper today in the scientific journal Nature. San Diego's mayor says the city is getting ready to move ahead to meet the goals of an ambitious climate action plan approved earlier this year. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
San Diego will have to cut greenhouse gas emissions in half and hit a goal of 100% renewable energy by 2035. Those goals require some critical changes from the city. Falconer says his plan spends $130 million in the next budget cycle to begin that journey. Now, the mayor's initiative calls for more bike lanes, more solar power, new sidewalks, 20 compressed natural gas trash trucks, and smart street lights, among other things.
This plan provides the framework to create new jobs and preserve San Diego's leadership position in the clean tech sector. We will improve public health and air quality. We will decrease San Diego's dependence on imported water. And we will increase the use of clean energy with a goal of 100% renewable energy by 2035.
Now, Nicole Capritz was among those who fought hard to win approval for the city's climate action plan, and she calls the mayor's plan an adequate down payment for an initiative that is expected to eat up significantly more city revenue.
We need a 5-year outlook. We need to look ahead and really assess what kind of revenue we're going to need to ensure we hit the climate goals. And I think that number, the amount of investment is going to increase significantly.
Capritz says there are a lot of problems that still need to be solved for the city to meet its climate goals. All of the solutions have not yet been worked out. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
San Diego State University administrators are trying to balance freedom of speech and protection from hate speech and harassment after anti-Muslim flyers appeared on campus last week. Today they held a meeting with students.
Like, I quite literally cannot believe that you're so unwilling to condemn a statement calling me a terrorist. You know, I'm your student.
That's San Diego State University student Osama El-Khawaja after a 2-hour meeting between students and administrators today, trying to get the university to explicitly condemn anti-Muslim flyers posted on campus last week. The meeting follows a protest last week after what some students say was President Elliot Hirschman's slow response to the flyers, on which 7 students were named and affiliated with terrorism.
After about 2 hours' time, they agreed to release a statement. It wasn't sufficient. They agreed to continue talking about how we could get to a point where they could condemn it. So moving forward, we're going to keep pushing the university until we could finally get a condemnation for these flyers.
The university agreed to review its policies and in a joint statement said they are committed to the safety of all members of the community. They also agree on the fundamental importance of freedom of expression and reaffirm their commitment to meaningful dialogue and mutual respect. Some local civil rights community leaders say it is the right step, but they need more from the administration.
What we're really having a conversation of here is the fact that this president did not respond as quickly to this anti-Muslim hate speech as he did to anti-Jew. And there's got to be a conversation about equality. There's got to be a conversation about, as a president of any body, your job is to serve all the students and not just some of the interest of the students.
The posted flyers with the students' names was linked to the Horowitz Freedom Center, run by David Horowitz. He is scheduled to speak on Thursday about fighting anti-Semitism on college campuses.
Clinton is coming to town. That's Bill Clinton, not Hillary. The former president will reportedly be in San Diego on Wednesday campaigning for Hillary Clinton ahead of California's June 7th primary. Public events are scheduled for San Diego and Los Angeles. San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer is not expected to have any problems winning re-election this year, but that hasn't stopped him from outraising and outspending his opponents. The Republican raised more than $1.2 million since launching his campaign last year. He's brought in about $150,000 since January. His opponents lag far behind. Democrat Ed Harris has just over $40,000. Independent Lori Saldana has just under $30,000. Now, she also gave her campaign a $10,000 loan. On top of Faulconer's own fundraising, a political action committee supporting him has spent almost $300,000 this year. San Diego residents will get a chance to vote in June on a proposed solution to the city's decaying infrastructure problem. But KPBS editor Tom Fudge says city leaders disagree on whether Proposition H, known as Rebuild San Diego, is the right answer.
San Diego City Councilman Mark Kersey takes me to a stretch of Poway Road on the border with San Diego.
Because this has just been allowed to be neglected for far too long.
As the highway sign announces the beginning of the city of Poway, the road suddenly changes from one with lots of bumps and cracks to a road as smooth as glass.
The mayor of Poway, Steve Voss, has always given me a hard time on this road and others because the city of San Diego has just not been doing a good job.
But Kersey says he has an answer to the problem of beat-up or inadequate roads, sidewalks, parks, libraries, in fact, any physical facility the city's responsible for.
So that's really what Prop H is about, is addressing that issue and making sure that, that the next generation doesn't have to deal with the same problem.
Proposition H creates no new taxes. It reserves expected future funds for infrastructure repair and construction. Here's how. Over the next 25 years, it reserves any growth in sales tax above the rate of the Consumer Price Index. It captures all cash savings from reduced payments to the city's pension fund as the pension deficit is paid down. And it captures 50% of all growth in property tax, hotel tax, and franchise fees over the next 5 years. The estimated money set aside for infrastructure, nearly $4 billion, says Kersey, who calls it a conservative estimate.
Swing set, it still works, I assume, but it's not very attractive.
No, it's not. You see all this rust up here.
Kersey also showed me a park in his district, Council District 5, that he says hasn't been maintained since it was built decades ago. He seems committed to doing better, but not everyone thinks he's on the right track with Rebuild San Diego.
Some taxpayer advocates and city workers' unions have come out against it. Some say Rebuild San Diego doesn't raise enough money. Some say reserving money for infrastructure is going to take money away from public safety, and some say there isn't enough detail in the initiative to tell us what projects are going to get funded.
This, by all accounts, will not solve the problem.
One of the critics is San Diego City Councilman Todd Gloria, who voted against putting Prop H on the ballot this year.
We already take about half of our general fund revenue growth and dedicate it toward infrastructure. What I know is that 75% of San Diegans are unhappy with the status quo. And so what this is doing is locking in the status quo for the next 25 years. If you don't like the roads the way they are now, you're not going to like them after Proposition H becomes law.
Gloria says San Diegans don't like new taxes, but that's clearly what's needed to solve our infrastructure problem.
If you have a problem that is measured $4 to $5 billion large, and you have a general fund that is $1.2 billion, it doesn't take a math genius to figure out we need additional resources.
Balboa Park is one part of San Diego that needs better upkeep. Estimated deferred maintenance here is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And on a sunny April afternoon, we asked San Diegans here what they thought the city needed to do a better job of maintaining.
We had a flood in our complex because the storm drain system didn't work. And we had been telling the city about it for months. And finally, when we got that big rain in May of 2015, the storm drain it flooded and it went into our garages, and yeah, we had a major mess.
I think our parks, our public parks, should be cared for. I think they're very important for the community. It's a good place for children, for families to get together. I think we could do more and better, like keeping them clean would be nice.
We do need to keep this up. This is history right here. This is something that I want my grandkids to be able to enjoy one day.
Will the ballot box budgeting of Rebuild San Diego solve the problem?
We should be in much better shape.
Councilman Kersey says it will take a big step in the right direction. He says new revenue would be nice, but good luck passing a tax this election year. In November, local tax initiatives in the works want to raise money for everything from a Chargers stadium to fire stations to mass transit.
So you've got potentially 5 or maybe even 6 revenue or tax measures on the November ballot. And I think there's a pretty good chance if that's the case, especially the ones that require 2/3, they're all going to lose.
In June, we'll see what will be the fate of San Diego Proposition H. Tom Fudge, KPBS News.
And video journalist Katie Shulov helped produce that story. California first began encouraging people to heat their shower water using the sun 4 decades ago. But many people still don't realize the technology even exists. iNews Source reporter Ingrid Lobet has more in tonight's News in Numbers.
You don't hear much about solar hot water heating compared to solar electricity, though they were both popular in the 1970s. Solar hot water's trajectory has gone down, while solar electricity has soared. In fact, fewer than 500 solar hot water units have gone in on San Diego County rooftops in the last 6 years. This map shows where they've had any traction at all. The zip code 92127 east of Rancho Santa Fe had the most installations. Solar Services of San Diego did more installations than any other company on residential rooftops. Adroit Services Incorporated did the most on multifamily housing and condos. People in the industry said solar hot water just doesn't have the sparkle of solar electricity. There are a lot fewer marketers. It is cheaper than solar electricity, but it's still a lot of money, $6,000 to $8,000. But if your water heater is gas, part of that will be rebated by the state. I'm Ingrid Lobet with iNews Source, partnering with KPBS.
And you can check out that interactive map on where people are using solar power to heat up their shower water on inewssource.org. The world's largest unmanned vessel is going for a test drive in San Diego starting today. The so-called Sea Hunter is designed to travel thousands of miles out at sea without a single crew member on board. Experts say it could revolutionize not only the military's maritime service, but commercial shipping. Military officials say this marks the first step towards sending unmanned cargo vessels between countries. Testing is expected to last 2 years, focusing on the ship's ability to avoid crashing into other vessels. Camp Pendleton hosted a reunion over the weekend for the 3rd Battalion 5th Marines, which suffered more casualties during the war in Afghanistan than any other Marine unit. 25 men died and almost 200 were wounded. 35 lost their limbs. KPBS reporter Allison St. John says the event was part of a bigger strategy the Marine Corps hopes will help save lives after Marines have returned from the battlefield.
The 3-5, the Dark Horse Battalion, suffered horribly when they first arrived in Helmand Province to conduct a counterinsurgency campaign back in the fall of 2010. Most of the casualties were due to IEDs, improvised explosive devices. The battalion's memorial on Camp Pendleton has a long list of names, and Colonel Jason Morris, who led the battalion during their 7-month deployment, says they lost more men after they came home. 9 have died either due to suicide or in motorcycle or car accidents. The buddy system is key to survival during deployments, but often that buddy system fades away when the Marines come home. Here are 3 of them who lost limbs. They say they have a good buddy system when they came home because they all went to the same hospital and spent months in rehab together. But others who had less visible injuries were left to fend for themselves. Some family members came from across country to the reunion too, to connect with people who went through what they went through. Karen Kelly, wife of retired General John Kelly, lost her son, First Lieutenant Rob Kelly, in San Diegans. She says the connection with Rob's Marines, who will never forget him, has made all the difference for her. It was a 2-day event with a barbecue on base. The Marine Corps' Commandant, Bob Neller, has said he wants this to be a year of reunions. They're hoping that strengthening the buddy and family connections after the Marines return home will help reduce the suicide rate. Alison St. John, KPBS News.
More than 39 million people now live in California. The State Department of Finance released new population estimates today. They show California grew by just under 1% last year to 39.25 million people. The city of Los Angeles crossed the 4 million mark for the first time ever. San Joaquin, Yolo, Riverside, and Santa Clara counties grew the fastest in 2015. Lassen County in rural northeastern California had the biggest decline. The report also shows California housing growth stayed largely flat last year, despite the state's population growth. The right to learn is being put to the test. Public schools across the nation are closing the door on migrant students, despite a Supreme Court ruling that gives all children the right to free education, regardless of their immigration status. Associated Press reporter Robert Bumstead has the story.
Like many unaccompanied minors before him, 16-year-old Candelario Jimon Alonso made the long trek from Guatemala to the U.S. for a better life.
I think that I'd like to learn English, and I'm going to, here in the United States.
He crossed the border and, after being processed in a government shelter, was placed in Memphis, where he has family. He now lives in this small home with 12 people, some of them his relatives. But since he arrived in November, his dreams of an education have been put on hold.
The man said that they sent me to another school where the adults are.
Local school officials have kept him out of the classroom since he tried to enroll in public school in January. Instead, the cash-strapped district routed him to an adult school in East Memphis, where he could have taken English classes a few hours a week. But the GED and English as a second language programs were shut down before he could even register. The state concerned that not enough students were graduating. Jimon's experience mirrors that of other unaccompanied minors across the country. In 1982, the Supreme Court ruled that states can't deny children a free public education regardless of their immigration status. However, in at least 35 districts in 14 states, the Associated Press has found that hundreds of unaccompanied minors have been discouraged from enrolling or pressured into what immigrant advocates are calling unequal alternative programs.
So here it's a verb.
Robert Allen Ham teaches English as a second language to immigrants in the Memphis area and used to work at the adult school.
We had a few young men and women that were of age 16, and when we saw how young they were, every one of them, we told them that they needed to go back to the high school and that it was their right to go to high school, and because we really prefer them not to come into the adult program.
Since January 2015, 22 New York school districts have changed their policies as the result of an investigation by the state attorney general into immigrant students not receiving an education. Neither the education nor the justice departments would say how many of the nation's roughly 14,000 districts have been investigated for similar failures. Meanwhile, Jimon is still holding out hope for a real education. He says he's strong. He wants to study math and communications and hopes one day to become a teacher. Robert Bumstead, Associated Press.
Today marks the official start of fire season in California. Governor Jerry Brown warned residents that drought conditions still exist in the state despite a wet winter. He says clearing brush and dead trees and brush can protect your home.
We try in every way we can to send a message. Build defensible space around your house. Do what you need to. Investigate, look on the internet, find what you need to do, but don't be complacent.
The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection says residents can populate their yards with drought-tolerant and fire-resistant plant life. The warm temperatures are back. Steph Davis says a warming trend heads to San Diego this week before rain hits the county next weekend. That's tonight on the KPBS Weather Report.
Happy Monday, everyone. Weather not too bad out there as we head back to work and school. A fairly seasonable early May day for Southern California. Now you'll notice just off to the north and west, we're catching a little bit of shower activity, though the bulk of that action should remain well off to our north. So we do expect to remain dry straight throughout tonight. Again, these showers should remain to the north of San Diego itself. So for tonight, nothing to worry about weather-wise in Borrego Springs. Just a couple of clouds building in as your overnight low falls to 58 degrees. 38 and dry tonight in Mount Laguna. Back to the 40s we go in Alpine and Ramona. 52 and pleasant tonight in Oceanside. 60 is your overnight low in San Diego itself. High pressure in control of the weather pattern for our Tuesday from the Four Corners all the way towards the California coastline, and that's going to allow for dry and mild conditions across much of the region. So really nothing to complain about tonight and into the day tomorrow, at least weather-wise across the area. Here's a look at your 5-day outlook for the coast. Partly cloudy Tuesday, high temperature 71. We'll get more peaks of sunshine for Wednesday and Thursday with daytime highs in the mid-60s. Now we could catch a quick passing shower on the coast for your Friday, and those spotty showers will linger into the day on Saturday. Taking a look at your 5-day outlook inland, partly cloudy skies Tuesday with highs in the low 70s, upper 60s with partial sunshine Wednesday and Thursday. Same deal here, a passing shower possible for your Friday. More clouds and spotty showers filtering in inland for your Saturday. 5-day outlook for the mountains. Mostly sunny and nice on Tuesday, high 68. Partial sunshine for Wednesday. We'll see temperatures cool down significantly on Thursday with highs in the low 50s. Only in the mid-40s on Friday in the mountains with a shower in spots. Temperatures rebound Saturday back to the low 50s, though we will catch a shower or two. 5-day outlook for the deserts. Mostly sunny and warm Tuesday and Wednesday with highs in the 90s. Much cooler on Thursday. Your daytime high is 79 degrees. Sunshine, a stray shower possible in the desert Friday with a high at 72. Clouds and spotty showers building in for your Saturday. Your daytime high 77 degrees. Steph Davis, KPBS News.
That I just have two more words to say. Obama out.
That's right. President Obama showing off his comedic chops at his last White House Correspondents Association dinner over the weekend. He took some shots at everyone, from Donald Trump, the press, even himself. The president also joked about what awaits him after retirement in a skit with several cameos, including one of former Speaker of the House, John Boehner.
So, you got any advice for me?
So now you want my advice? First, stop sending me all these LinkedIn requests. And second, here's the beauty of this whole thing. You've got all the time in the world to figure this out. You can just be you for a while, if you know how to do that again.
So I can just be me.
And of course, the president also took a few swipes at the current presidential race, joking that at next year's dinner, a new president will be the one taking a stab at stand-up comedy. Undisputed is a gym in City Heights that teaches boxing to kids who need to let off some steam. Youth reporters from the Media Arts Center show us the lessons in the ring that empowers them to take a less violent path.
Before I joined this program, I feel that I'm a really cold person, like really hard to make friends with other people. But after I joined, I feel like I was able to make friends with most of the people in the class. The program makes me feel pretty comfortable. Like yeah, it's my second home. It feels like my second home.
Undisputed is a boxing gym, mixed martial arts gym, but it's mainly also for fitness. So you're going to learn those sports, but you're going to learn for fitness, not to necessarily get beat up and have to compete and things like that.
I learn something new every day. Like it could be to boxing, to talking to people, to watching, everything. You learn something new every day. You never leave the gym without learning anything.
I used to do a lot of street fights because of my anger, and coming here, working out, you know, fighting with your friends, hugging out at the end of the fight, it keeps you out of trouble outside.
We don't train kids or anyone here to use this and just go pick on fights wherever they go.
It's empowering, so they learn how to protect themselves, defend themselves, you know, at the same time releasing endorphins with physical fitness activity. So if anything, it's all positive. Even for the person that goes to school being a bully, you know, maybe they're being a bully because they're scared to show their true emotions, or they're hiding something, you know. So by them coming to a program like this, you know, it might seem like you're empowering the bully to be a better fighter and bully more people. No, you're empowering the bully to not be a bully anymore. And they just see, you know, they just see things differently. You know, you don't have to beat up people to be tough. You know, so this kind of empowers people to realize that they're more powerful than they might think they are. Therefore, they open up more. Therefore, they shine brighter, you know, and they attract more positive things.
Boxing versus fighting, boxing always wins.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening. Good night.